Hello, hello. You know, this kind of stuff doesn't normally happen. Hello, I am ohmTown. I'm going to start over. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and that's what runs the ohmTown Daily News Show. You're going to have to forgive me. I don't know, maybe I'm still asleep. So what is ohmTown? ohmTown.com is actually a news aggregator, but ohmTown Daily News Show is the culmination of all of this news being condensed into about 10 articles that I've parsed from probably about 40 or so pages today so far have been aggregated, and it isn't from screen scraping or anything like that. I put it into categories so that I can filter through it how I need it. I use this aggregator pretty much every day. And I talk about the news, not just here, but elsewhere around and about. And I hope to see you around here for the ohmTown Daily News Show and for others, because I have about 50 of them that I want to bring to the Twitchiverse. I don't know. Well, there's 6 main categories that I filter my news into. So create news, education, entertainment, social, and technology. And now there's a podcast one because we have a podcast that's been running since probably about the 3rd day. And I started back in January of 2022 this year. So not too long in terms of, streaming and stuff like that. But if you stumble in here or hear my voice by way of the podcast or over on YouTube or here on Twitch, because this is the first source. This is where I stream live. I don't stream live over to YouTube. I used to, tried it for a little bit. I don't know. It was a weird experience because I was using Restream and there wasn't really a good way to chat with anybody. And I don't know. I like it over here on Twitch, but I don't know. Let's just get into the news. I'm babbling. The very first article for today is over in the Hatch Ideas channel. That's a channel that's about business transformation, intellectual property sometimes, but really about trying to help a business out in some way. Startup kind of community. More on that as time goes on, but a Texas barbecue chain was ordered to pay $230,000 to workers after their tips were shared with managers. Yeah, if you aren't familiar with that, managers shouldn't be getting anything. They're getting paid a salary. They're not part of the, I don't know how to describe this other than quiet fleecing really is what I call it now, because that term has come into my lexicon by way of doing this stream. There's this idea about, quiet quitting and the great resignation and stuff like that. But there's something seriously wrong here in that the wage disparity between the executive suite, management, administration, and the general population of employees is growing and getting worse. And eventually, well, it currently is. Everybody's in an untenable position if they're not in administration or higher, right? So there's administration, which is seen as just kind of a keeping everybody in line kind of layer. And then there's the executive suite of a larger corporation, which is part of the administration, but really they're even above that, right? You have managers and stuff like that. Anyway, My point is that people are people are getting fleeced. They're told you should be damn happy that you've got a job, but you know what? It's the employees it's the people that are not management that are really making everything work, because they're the ones that are boots on the ground, so to speak. They're the ones that are mashing the buttons on the machine. They're the ones that are doing all of this stuff. And sure, management may have spawned from the workers that are deemed, I don't know, compatible with the outcomes of the corporation or business. But there's so much nepotism involved in it that it turns my stomach. And it was the reason why I left everything behind, really, to do what I'm doing now. So at any rate, finally, a chain of barbecue restaurants in Texas was ordered to pay $230,353 in back wages to employees, according to Wage and Hour Division investigators. Employers kept employee tips for managers, and the division found almost $35 million in owed back wages to 29,000 employees in fiscal year 2021. That's an amazing amount of money to an amazing, stunningly high number of people. Well, the investigators from the U.S. Department of Labor found that a Texas barbecue chain owes $230,353 in back wages to 274 employees, after employers took part of employees' tips and shared them with managers. All of those people, I don't know, there's at some point reputation just falls away. For whatever reason, reputation just falls away. And nobody knows about how horrible these people are. Their ethics and moral compass is just disgusting. But it was part of the system, and, you know, everybody was cool with it. So it must have been right? Well, that's not how it works. Brittany Nguyen is the author of this. I think I'm pronouncing their last name right. Sometimes it's pronounced differently. So over at Business Insider. And let's see here if there's anything else. I kind of went over the highlights just now. Yeah, it's part of the FLSA, the Fair Labor Standards Act. Employers, managers, and supervisors are not allowed to keep employees' tips. That's because they're usually getting paid less than minimum wage, aren't on any kind of a contract, are not exempt. They need to be paid what they're supposed to get paid, and their salary is part, or their wage is part. The tips are part of their wage. So management is supposed to be, backing the hell off. Well, Black's Barbecue Restaurant, which operates Black's Barbecue, or doesn't operate Black's Barbecue Incorporated. It's the other way around. Well, they operate Kent's Black Lockhart Barbecue Incorporated, New Braunfels Barbecue LLC. It's all a hot mess, hodgepodge of names. Man, if I were to peel back the layer of the onion there, I'm sure I would see some shenanigans. And to be a fly on the wall of this corporate structure and just listen to some of the shady crap, I'm sure I'd hear. But I don't know. I just don't know. But this is bad enough, right? Taking wages and giving it to management. Food service industry employees must know that tips are the property of tipped employees who earn them, plain and simple. Nicole Sellers, Wage and Hour Division District Director in Austin, Texas, said in the department's press release. Workers and their families depend on their rightfully earned wages and benefits. And if you take them, you take from their families. I agree. Let's see. I don't know if there's anything else in this. You'll have to go over and read it. Hopefully I teased you enough to go over there, check it out. It's Great photography. Picture of Texas-style barbecue from Shutterstock. It's too late for me to eat, so I'll just remain hungry. Let's move on to the next article. That's over in the Hedge Ideas channel as well. Oh, you know what? I didn't do it again. Ugh, every single episode. I don't throw the URLs in the chat, and then sometimes I don't even think people really want them or care. They just want to hear the news, and they don't want to go over and read anything else. But I want to offer that up. I'm asking in my podcast, not just audibly now, but in the show notes of my podcast. I stopped putting show notes just to see what somebody would do. Didn't get anything one way or the other. I don't know if anybody's listening over there. Are you all listening? Meta is reportedly putting some workers on a 30-day list that gives them a month to find a new role at the company or leave. Meta, that was the title. Meta reportedly put some workers on a 30-day leave kind of leave list. If you don't find some place to work, you can leave right away. I had ended up reading some of the comments from another source, and not even a single website. It was an aggregation source as well. Ended up in a conversation about it, and apparently it's all the rage. You can get put on a 30-day list, or basically any told, hey, go find something else in the company to do. And it's like Silicon. If you ever watched the show Silicon Valley, where people ended up on the roof because there was so much money, and so many people that nobody really knew or cared where you were or what you were doing, that you just ended up on the roof as a way to get away, but still getting paid bank. And one person kept on moving up through the ranks, even though they didn't really do anything. Well, it says Meta is slimming its workforce and evading a flurry of pink slips by forcing some employees into a 30-day list that leaves them only a month to find a new role at the company or leave if their department is downsized or eliminated, according to a new report from the Wall Street Journal. Grace K. Here's Mark Zuckerberg looking off into the distance, asking, is that what a human does? So instead of terminating employees outright, the company gives some of its workers 30 days. Go find something. Go find something. Sounds like Dad saying, go find something to do. I'm painting here and you're doing it wrong, so go find something to do. That might be baggage. Anyway, our plan is to steadily reduce headcount growth over the next year. Many teams are going to shrink so we can shift energy to other areas inside the company, Zuckerberg said during the company's quarterly earnings call in July. There's a lot of news out there that's basically saying that Meta is just spiraling, and not in a good way. Let's move on to the next article. Disney World fans complain of. Anybody want to take a stab at that price? If you haven't looked at the title already, I'll leave a little gap. Maybe somebody is going to go post that price somewhere. Disney World fans complain of $625 bills for meals at Victoria and Albert's restaurant. Disney World's Victoria and Albert's restaurant has significantly hiked prices since reopening in July. The tasting menu at the restaurant's dining room experience costs $425 plus $200 for wine. Disney is facing criticism over how much it charges people to eat at the restaurant. I don't know what people are complaining about. They're going to Disney World, the happiest place on earth, and everybody's so damn happy because they're making bank. they're They're just raking it in, and they're raising the prices because people are willing to pay them. You know, if everybody would just ghost these companies like Nvidia, that was $1,600 for a video card is outrageous. I don't care how much compute power and whatever perceived value it is. This is outrageous pricing. Things are going up because people are willing to spend their money on these things. That is the only way you can get through to a business. It's a business. What still exists in the mindset of many old, stalwart, entrenched businesses is their only motive is profit. But there's so many new members of society that are coming into capability and power where they realize that wealth without any values is horrible. It's useless. It's wasteful. All it does is increase the cost of everything. And it's really just perceived as a game. Who can get to the top and step on everybody else? And I challenge people to try and tell me of an ethical millionaire or billionaire. And then we have to have the authority to do a deep dive into those people. Whoever you claim is an ethical millionaire or billionaire. And I'd like to know how they got their money, even the processes by which they did it, the decisions. If it's all backroom deals and hush hush, or they got it from their parents because they kicked it. So everybody, no. There's always added context to this. And Disney's never really been, the wholesome business that everybody perceives it to be. And by that, I mean all of the frontward facing stuff. There's a lot of shady stuff that goes on. I mean, we can look around. All kinds of stuff. But it gets people talk about it for a little bit and then it goes away. That's just how it works. So this is over at businessinsider.com by Beatrice Nolan. And the tasting menu at the restaurant's chef's table experience costs $425 plus $200 for wine. Criticism. They're facing criticism. If you want to have them face the consequences of something, price them out. Just stop going. You can delay or outright just ignore it and move on. Don't go. It cost $350 per person before the pandemic. Now it costs $425 per person. Per person. So what else does it say here? Cheapest option in the restaurant, a tasting menu in the dining room. Now begins at $295 per person. It previously cost $185 per person. I don't even care what Kobe style beef. Kobe style beef? Either it is or it isn't. It's Kobe beef. It's Kobe beef, not Kobe style. Let's keep on trucking through all of the articles. Hold on. I'm going to do something. All right about that. Okay, well, anyway. Next article is over in the Word in Tech. It's an RTX card. So NVIDIA announced their new cards, the 4080, 4090. And I thought that this one was really interesting because I watched all of it. And the 4090, this 4090 is so ridiculous it needs a dark obelisk RGB support stick, is what it's referred to as, the dark obelisk, because it's this mounting thing. So there was a time when you used to be able to put cards in SLI mode, where it was two cards side by side, and you'd have to click something in between them and they would communicate. It was a great idea at the time because there wasn't anything else, right? But it's kitschy. Yeah. Oh, you have a little connector that puts their brains together so that they can operate in unison. Now you have a card that is 3.5 to 4, and in one instance, 5 slots wide. I used to joke, what I really need is just a CPU and a powerful graphics card, and that is my cyber deck, just powerful processor, powerful video, keyboard, mouse. I use a trackball. Anyway, and VR glasses. Put them on, cyber deck. Dream come true. Is that where we're moving to? All I need is a whole bunch more input via USB-C, and I can plug in all of my devices. I've got a lot. I've got 2 massive USB hubs powering all kinds of little things, little gadgets, bric-a-brac stuff. A little drone is sitting right there charging. But this thing is huge. It's taking up at least 3.5 slots. So 4, 5, 3.5, 4, 5 slots. If you want airflow to the side where the fans are coming in, pulling air in, you're going to have an open slot over there. Otherwise, it's just going to be pulling hot air from whatever else is right there, or no air, or whatever. It's going to just be a hot mess, so to speak. So let me click this just so that you can see the dark obelisk from theverge.com. This article is written by Tom Warren, and right there it is. This massive chunk of, I'm not sure. I think it might be plastic, but it has RGB in it. And it holds up the ass end of your video card. So I'll just say what they wrote in their article for a little bit. If you thought the prices of NVIDIA's new RTX 40 series were ridiculous, wait until you see all the third-party RTX 4090 designs. Ridiculous doesn't even begin to describe the RTX 4090. Serious gaming. Yeah, that's the name of it from Galax. Yeah, they call it serious gaming. This is massive. But apparently they're on board. So EVGA bowed out of this iteration of NVIDIA. They bowed out of being an NVIDIA partner because nobody knew what the prices were going to be. So they're not even selling RTX cards anymore. Well, they're going through their 30 series and other video card models, but they're not going to do the 40 or on. They're done, according to them, according to EVGA. So given how big this particular card looks, Galax has the ultimate tool to prevent GPU sagging. That shouldn't be a phrase, GPU sagging. For when your graphics card is simply too heavy for the PCIe bracket and slot to hold. That was actually demonstrated by somebody, but it's in a weird way. They're like holding the motherboard and shaking it until the card flung out. It's kind of what I do with bags at an airport. The RGB Dark Obelisk support stick will save the day to its magical RGB powers and ability to hold this giant RTX 4090 in place. A $1,600 card, probably. So, there's all kinds of pictures. Everything is pretty. You should go over to Gamers Nexus and watch that video over on YouTube. But The Verge has the video linked. I won't play it, but follow the link through ohmTown. Go over, come back, leave a note, come and hang out with me tomorrow at 6 o'clock. But let's move on to the next article. The next article is about Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight Dig turns an excellent platformer into an awesome roguelike. And if you haven't seen Shovel Knight, it's basically like, oh, are you really old? It's Dig Dug, but bigger, better, badder, more complex. It is no longer the little kind of dinky controller kind of a game. It's much more involved, a lot more fun. So check out Shovel Knight. So Shovel Knight Dig is what it's called. Shovel Knight is one of the great modern platformers. One of the many excellent expansions even turned Shovel Knight, a game released in 2014 that was getting massive updates until 2019, into a surprisingly good card game too. And would you believe it's now been spun off into an excellent roguelike as well. Shovel Knight Dig is not an expansion of Shovel Knight, but instead a brand new game akin to last year's puzzle-centric Shovel Knight Pocket Edition, or Pocket Dungeon, sorry. Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon. I haven't played that one, but Shovel Knight Dig is actually pretty fun. So it says Pocket Dungeon sadly wasn't very good, but this is different. Shovel Knight Dig is excellent. Even Spelunky is one of my favorites. That's the author saying this, not me. As close to perfect as such an arbitrary and silly label can be. So let's go check this out. This is an article over at vice.com in a section they call Waypoint Games by Vice. Vice has this knack for like stuffing sections within sections when it's a turducken of article categorization, but not in a way like for ohmTown, it goes, you have ohmTown is the overarching thing, and then you have the category where all the news is. So like education, and then within education is dictionary. So you know exactly where you are. You know exactly what the channel is going to be called. This is vice.com and then Waypoint, but in all of their linking and all of their stuff, it doesn't say Waypoint, and then it has games by Vice. Then it has the title. It's interesting. I don't know. A little critique, I guess, of Vice. It's weird. Turducken. Patrick Klepek is the author of this article over at Vice about, it's titled again, Shovel Knight Dig turns an excellent platformer into an awesome roguelike. And I agree. I can't really argue with this. I can't really say anything otherwise. There are a ton of ads on everybody's site. It's shocking. And would you believe it's now been spun off into an excellent roguelike? So go check it out. There was video playing on this site, and there's another ad, and I don't know. Go check out Shovel Knight Dig over on Steam. It's definitely there. Now my antivirus just triggered on something referred to as Parable, which I don't even have that open. So I'm sure if I do a dig into it, if I do a dig because of this article, if I dig into this, I'll probably find out that it's ad tracking or something like that. At any rate, I'm going to move on before my head explodes. So the next article is GM is closing reservations for the electric Hummer. The SUV hit 90,000 reservations. So the number of reservations is notable because of the starting price of the vehicles, which range between roughly $85,000 and $111,000. So, well, again, click this link. It takes us over to CNBC. And I didn't talk about any of the business stuff that has transpired today, stock market wise. I tend to include that when I talk about business stuff, at least when the first business article shows up. This article was done by Michael Wayland over at CNBC.com. And it says, closing the reservations is a way for the automaker to try and fulfill the current list of reserved vehicles, which extends out to at least 2024. GM has been slowly ramping up production of the Hummer EV since earlier this year. Well, it was announced earlier this year, I think. 90,000 vehicles at $90,000. I think it was apropos to freeze that. You have some symmetry there when the average price is $90,000. You just freeze it at 90,000. Let's see. As of the end of June, the company has sold less than 400 of the vehicles. So it has 86,000 more to go. No, sorry. It has 89,600 more to go. And they think that they're going to get it done by 2024. Yeah, I don't think so. Y'all are going to be waiting for your electric Hummers, which just sounds really bad. Be very careful about electric Hummers. I see a lot of, the truck. Never mind. Let's see. GM's decision follows Ford Motor shutting down reservations for its electric F-150 Lightning pickup after hitting roughly 200,000 units. And it had also shut down reservations for the electric Mustang Mach-E crossover, which I never liked, but has since reopened those. All right. Let's keep rolling through the news. I need to fix that. I never had that pop up before, but I grabbed the titles so that, or the URL so I can post them. And now there's a drop down from my browser. At any rate, you and the podcast aren't going to care. So what it takes to build an online legal research tool. So this is over at Above the Law. If you're into law, then I have a section of ohmTown that's dedicated to it. Because I am very interested in the law, but I'm not an attorney. I'm not really involved in law, more of a victim of it. Let's just click the link and take us over to Above the Law, and I'll keep on talking about this. Catherine Rubino is the author of this article. It's hard to read their articles sometimes for whatever reason. It says in the beginnings of LexisNexis can be traced in part from 1965 initiative in which State Bar Association tried to create a legal research system for its lawyers. So it's a question, apparently. And then it says, hint, when introduced in 1973, the Lexis service offered the full text of 2 states' codes and cases, including the answer to the question, the U.S. Code, some federal case law, and a tax database from the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. So, what it takes to build an online legal research tool. So, apparently, this is kind of like a quiz. I've never seen this before. Well, it was launched in Ohio. And if you follow the link over at Above the Law, it'll actually take you to LexisNexis's timeline that started in 1945. Memex, an Atlantic Monthly article, postulates an online interactive information retrieval system, and then iteration after iteration turns it into LexisNexis. And if you've never heard of LexisNexis, it's an extremely expensive legal database that kind of makes anybody into a power user and consumer of the law. Now, you can do a lot of searches and tie a lot of cases. And the case law really allows you to create a better case for whoever it is you're defending, or for your company. If you're researching something and you think that there might be problems, you can have some type of legal foundation. And really, I wish that it was cheaper, but there is no inexpensive. Wow, there's anyway. There's no inexpensive legal database at this point, as far as I know. There's Westlaw and LexisNexis, and I think there's a couple others that might be termed reasonably priced, but you'd have to get a quote from either of these if you are. Well, you're not allowed to even access it if you're not a student in the law academia, if you're not in school, or a practicing attorney. So I'll just move on because that was a weird interface. So I need to look into why that's doing that drop down. So the next article is a 23-year-old self-described crypto king reportedly had his Lamborghini, BMWs, and McLarens seized after investors sued him, claiming he stole $35 million. Aiden Platursky, who calls himself Crypto King, had $2 million of assets seized. CNBC Toronto reports Platursky was reportedly given $35 million by 140 investors. Now he's being sued by former investors in a bankruptcy proceeding and 2 civil lawsuits. Let's see. The seized assets of the man, Aiden Platursky, included his Lamborghini, 2 McLarens, and 2 BMWs, according to CBC Toronto. This is in the businessinsider.com site and written by Brittany Nguyen. And let's see if there's something more to this article. You can always get the greater fidelity from the article if you go over and read the whole thing. I kind of just give you a little tease of what it is. Norman Groot, founder of Investigation Council PC, told CBC Toronto that the bankruptcy proceeding against Platursky, who started investing in cryptocurrency as a teenager, was one of the only ways investors could try to get their money back. Why would it be a bankruptcy proceeding? I don't understand that. There has to be more context in this article. Platursky reportedly was renting a lakefront mansion in Burlington, Ontario, that he spent $45,000 a month for and previously paid for promotional articles about himself on websites like Forbes Publication in Monaco. What? I don't understand. And the far-right publication Daily Caller. A lawyer for Platursky told CBC Toronto that Platursky thinks the claims against him by former investors are wildly exaggerated. Sorry, the browser just jumped because something on the page ad rendered. Shockingly, it seems that nobody bothered to consider what would happen if the cryptocurrency market plummeted, or whether Aiden, as a very young man, was qualified to handle these types of investments. Platursky's lawyer, Michael Simeon, told CBC Toronto. He added that Platursky is cooperating with the bankruptcy process and is hopeful that it will work out in the most equitable fashion for everyone. Well, you have to admit to that attorney drawing up the fact that, well, the crypto market kind of imploded. There are others that have already said that their purchase price was $30,000 per crypto coin. Per Bitcoin. And if your investment is still sitting there, then you have, and let's say that it is $30,000. Well, let's see where Bitcoin is right now. Bitcoin is at $19,416. It's so volatile. It's shocking. It went up $951 today. I guess in a form of irony, because the Dow did not. So I think it was flat today. I'm looking at futures now, but anyway. Wow, hold on a second. There we go. So, I mean, the attorney saying, well, it went down. Well, yeah, that's kind of how it works. How this person I mean, they're not 7 years old, right? I mean, let me scroll back up and see. Started as a teenager. Well, obviously they're not a teenager. He's 23 years old. Let's not reach back into history and say, well, he's really young. So what? If he's making claims and he's an adult, then he needs to be, held accountable for those claims. That's pretty much it. I mean, if he made these exaggerated claims, then obviously he's going to get in a little bit of trouble. Anyway. Crypto is pegged to some other currency, folks. You play this game, it's nothing more than leverage, and you're going to get caught eventually. So it's going to run up against you. So unless you trickle money back out and put it in something a little safer that has insurance for some time when it gets stolen, or somebody rents a $45,000 per month mansion. That is crazy. Rents. Dems accused GOP of siding with insurrectionists after a 203 person vote no on election bill. That's the next article that we talk about in the Daily News Show. I'm just going to click the link to take us over to Common Dreams. And it says, siding with insurrectionists, 203 House Republicans vote no on coup prevention bill. And that's because they want. And it's not all Republicans, and it's not even all Republicans that voted this way. I mean, it's horrible that they did, but they're voting with the money, because if they diverge from the money, there's enough people, enough wingnuts in the Republican Party that they're going to be ousted. So it's go along to get along. That way they can stay in office for as long as possible, even if they don't have that ideology. And why do I say that? It's because the ones that actually went with the Democrats are the ones that aren't going to be in office anymore. They're already leaving. They've retired. They're retiring, or they can't go back into office for whatever reason. It doesn't matter what it is. The simple fact is the ones that have nothing to lose are the ones that are voting with the Democrats. All of the other people are trying to stay in favor with the people that have control of the money. And that's the wingnut arm of the Republican Party. That is why nobody is bucking the system. And the people that are in control of the Republican Party have accepted Trump as being the de facto leader. He's not the true leader, but he's the one that is drawing so much attention and ire from everybody that they're willing to let this dude sit there and do whatever he wants, because he is just as greedy, unethical, etc. I mean, come on, look at the investing history. Look at lawsuit after lawsuit, for crying out loud. Casino, the foundation, the school, even stakes, for crying out loud. Anyway, the measure passed by a vote of 229 to 203, with every House Democrat present voting in favor. Only 9 House Republicans joined them, and all 9 are leaving Congress after this term, either because they lost their primary challenges or are retiring. And if you go and look at where they lost their primary challenges, it's all wingnuts that have taken over. Y'all are in a world of hurt, because if you think that you're going to be immune to the fanaticism, the gaslighting that's being thrown at people is tremendous. You think that you're going to be immune to the changes if everything that they claim of somebody else is what they want. They're not going to stop. If the Democrats have control, they're not going to stop. Yet that's exactly what the wingnut arm of the Republican Party is doing. No, we don't want to outlaw abortion. We just want the states to make their own determination. And then the first thing they do in the process of stacking the Supreme Court to make it possible, after saying that everybody else needs to slow their roll with appointing Supreme Court justices and steamrolling them in, so to speak, they steamroller them in and then they throw aside equality and equity. Anyway, let's move on. Mortgage rates continue to climb. I've been telling everybody that gas prices are going to start going back up. Yep, they are. Food CPI is going back up. You can bet on it. The prices are not going to decline in any fast way. And now it's largely energy prices are going to keep going back up. The producer price index stalled, but that's only from backlash of 2.5 years of ever increasing pricing for those producer level goods before they even hit the retail channel. And now nobody can even afford a house. They can't finance it because the monthly rate is going to be too high. What changed? What has changed in the world where a mortgage for the same house, the house that I have now and the house that is next door to me, if the house next door to me is financed right now, it's going to be somewhere around 6.29%. And if you reach back in time before the pandemic, you're talking about a 100% increase in the average mortgage rate for a 30-year mortgage. Not even 2.5 years ago, a year and a half ago. So what really changed? Nothing. Greedflation. That's what this is. Greedflation. So this article is by Arthi Swaminathan. I suppose I'm pronouncing that properly. This is over at marketwatch.com. An economic report. The 30-year mortgage rate averaging at 6.29% at Freddie Mac, said that latest weekly survey on Thursday. The caption under the picture is, "The rise in rates is bad news for prospective buyers as it potentially adds hundreds of dollars to their mortgage payments." Hundreds? It doubles the mortgage that they would have had to pay. The increase in mortgage rates followed the Federal Reserve hiking interest rates again to address the worst inflation the economy has faced in 40 years. All that does is lock down the money at the top. They're not spending it. They're investing it in vehicles that make more money than the interest rate, than the rate of inflation. Or they're pulling it out entirely, stashing it overseas somewhere in another form. Gold, silver, other precious metals. And then when whatever shenanigans go on are done, they'll bring it back and it'll be at a higher rate and they'll liquidate those or other things. It's better to just have it sitting somewhere than to have it actually in the system. So they got the money stored somewhere. The rise in rates is bad news for prospective buyers. You're kidding me. Given the rise in rates and buyer pullback, the median price of an existing home in the United States fell to $389,500 in August from $403,800 the previous month. And meanwhile, there are builders that are still going crazy building stuff like mad. So what's going to happen next? The average rate on the 15-year mortgage also rose over the past week to 5.44%. So, and if you are considering getting into an ARM, Well, I think that's insanity. The next article is over in the Smack Talk channel, and that is the Apple Watch Ultra is impressive, but can't replace my dive watch just yet. That's an article over at appleinsider.com. I'm a diver too. I would love to go diving again, just can't. Andrew O'Hara, though, apparently is a diver and does go diving and took the Apple Ultra for a swim. So it says Apple Watch Ultra is able to double as a dive computer, and while it's undeniably impressive, it won't and can't replace their dedicated dive computer just yet. The newly introduced Apple Watch Ultra is packed full of impressive specs. Let me pause this because I don't play people's videos while I'm streaming there. I don't want their content to be triggering some alert. At any rate, the newly introduced Apple Watch Ultra is packed full of impressive specs. It can operate at extreme temperatures. It is made of lightweight yet durable titanium, has the longest battery life of any Apple Watch so far. Yeah, something like 2.5 days of steady use, including sleep tracking. One of the more niche aspects of the Apple Watch Ultra is its ability to operate as a dive computer. The author says that they're excited to test it out for themselves. So I'm really curious what it was. I don't want to read verbatim their article. That's just not my bag, man. But anyway, they were down just over 100 feet on their deepest dive, bumping up against that 40-meter limit. But what? Hold on a second. Let me check something. Yeah, I thought that it was deeper than that. Okay, well, anyway. So it says that it has the ability to go WR100. This means that it's water resistant down to 100 meters, roughly equivalent to 10 atmospheres or 330 feet. Right. Apple says it should only be used for diving to 40 meters, though. So what's the point of WR100? That's what threw me off. I'm sitting there going, well, wait a minute. But apparently, Apple Watch, according to Mac Rumors and this article as well, and apple.com, it says it provides real-time measurement of underwater depth down to 40 meters. So it actually only has a depth gauge limit, not a physical capability limit. It just won't do its depth properly for the dive if you go beyond 40 meters, which really isn't the bottom of your standard scuba PADI certification limit. So it says this is still plenty for your typical recreational diving. You should be able to do, because the bounce dive is, if I recall correctly, 125 feet. It's the deep dive that you do while you're getting your certification from PADI. Anyway, an advanced open water certification ups this max to 30. So there you go. But there's a deep dive. Maybe they've changed it. I don't know. I remember. So I was trained scuba, search and rescue, recovery dives. And I was trained by a Navy SEAL. So that obviously makes me a Navy SEAL by proxy, right? That's how it works. Anyway, but I was doing like dive again and again and again, getting close to black on the chart. So, but I wanted to get dives in and train hard, and it was a lot of fun. So I loved being in the water. Anyway, dive computers and whatnot have been getting bigger and bigger. It used to be technical where you're writing it out and stuff like that, but now you can rely on tech, which is awesome. But dive computers are so much bigger. They should be. It should be obvious. It should be able to provide all kinds of information. And the dive computer actually sets some technical limits on you, because if you don't have certain information and you do deeper dives or you do exotic gases, you need a special type of um, kit to provide you the data so that you don't kill yourself in a dive. Anyway, um, this diver uses, it says they currently use a Zeagle BCD. It's a buoyancy control device. And they've used their fair share of Suunto dive watches, or Suunto. I've never heard the phrase. It's been a while. It's been a minute since I went diving, so I never used that dive watch. And computers. And to see the Oceanic Plus app for the Apple Watch was exciting. So this actually provides a lot of data, but to me, it's too small. I really want something bigger, a full heavy duty dive computer. But the tracking is great. Its ability to be the backup computer is great. Me being able to use it and a dive computer together is great. That way I can see if both of them are matched. Let me see if if they showed other dive computers in this. No, they didn't show any other dive computers, but at any rate, I think that it would be capable of being a recreational dive computer for someone who doesn't want to have multiple devices and specialist kit for their diving. I think it'll be great. So it's been tested. I don't know what else to say. I think that it would be wonderful to use. And lastly, for the final article for today's stream and podcast, Tesla recalls nearly 1.1 million vehicles in the US over windows pinching fingers. Frankly, I see nothing wrong with this. Sometimes you just want to roll the window up and catch whoever's reaching into your car. And you could like set it as a trap, right? Put something, well, just leave it rolled down and somebody will, for whatever reason, because it's a Tesla, they must reach in or scratch or mess with your car for some strange reason. I'd love to be able to just push a button and that window shoot up and catch people, like those buildings that have security walls that slam down real fast if you have somebody trying to rob you. They actually build them into the cabinet, or into the cabinetry of the counters, I should say. And they hydraulically are powered to shoot up as fast as possible. It's pretty cool. Anyway, Tesla's recalling nearly 1.1 million vehicles in the US because the windows can pinch a person's finger while they're being rolled up. Just keep your hands out of the windows, folks. Come on. There's nothing wrong with a Tesla that has an attitude problem. Tesla was not aware of any warranty claims or injuries due to the problem as of September 16th, according to the documents. And the recall covers certain 2017 to 2022 Model 3 sedans and some 2020 and 2021 Model Y SUVs, and also included are apparently some Model S sedans and Model X SUVs from 2021 and 2022. So pretty much a smattering of everything. So if you have a Tesla, go get it checked out. Who knows what's going to be going on? It might turn into like Christine and eat you. Anyway. So that was the ohmTown Daily News episode for September 22nd, 2022. Again, I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmtown.com. Go check it out. Go check out the podcast. Please come and visit me here on Twitch. It's only an hour of time, maybe sometimes. This one actually hit dead on an hour. I'm babbling just to extend it past this. I'm going to edit probably the very beginning and the very end of the stream and leave everything else in there so you can see how the sausage is made. And I'm going to go off and try and figure out why this thing is displaying other tabs from my browser. I used to not have that, but now it's back. So Anyway, I did a lot of updating and all kinds of hell broke loose. Something hinky went on with antivirus. Like I didn't even made it over to Reddit. Malware bytes was I use malware bytes, and it just started telling me that everything was compromised, not on my system, but Google. Everything that Google has was compromised and sending alerts to malware bytes. And I just updated everything, did all kinds of stuff, checked my network integrity, all kinds of things, man. I went down a spiral of cybersecurity, the likes of which I don't know anybody would have done. I checked everything, but everything was okay. But now, for some reason, it just stopped. Redditor said, "Yeah, malware bytes just stopped. It stopped sending these alerts. It was sending them like crazy, and then it just stopped. So now I hate not knowing what the problem is, and I haven't looked into it since it happened. So I've been really busy. Anyway, if you're hanging out in my chat, thanks for hanging out in my chat. If you're not, and you're getting this over at YouTube or watching the VOD later here on Twitch, or you're watching or listening to the podcast, please come over and hang out with me on Twitch. I'm lonely, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.